wanna do now is making it last. Mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, friends forever, strengthening the ties that keep us together. Mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, friends forever, strengthening the ties that keep us together.
So the conversation is about how to maintain and find your identity while maintaining healthy relationships. Now, if you miss that first conversation, you're going to need to find it, which would be just the link just before this one, and bring yourself up to speed. But we're now at the point with Rajae Danvers, junior communications strategist, singer, JNN News ambassador, several other things, and Ayanna Suckoo, NCB Scholar 2017 from the parish of Hanover, member of the NCU debate team 2018-2019, social work major. Now, we've found our identity, we've looked at maintaining our identity. Now, how with all of this can we try to maintain healthy relationships? Because when you spend time on developing self, people might interpret that as being selfish and that it's all about you. So how then do you help them to understand you're trying to maintain healthy relationships? And when we talk about relationships, we're not just going to be talking about man, woman, husband, wife. Well, none of you are married yet, so you really can't speak to that just yet. But, friendships, school relationships, etc.
I want to let the listeners know that I have in my book. I have a book in my hand, rather.
Okay.
Talking about weddings.
Okay. All right. So he has his source to refer to. But any one of you that want to respond to that.
Please, Ayanna, please go first.
All right. I know this is Rajae's forte, but I'm going to take it away.
Okay.
Effective communication.
Okay.
When you would have found yourself and while maintaining yourself, you would need effective communication in maintaining healthy relationships. Why do I say that? Because sometimes you need to have... You said it might come across as selfish, but it's really not. You need to take time to have that certain level of solitude where you stay by yourself and you're able to say, all right, let me spend time with myself, enjoy my own company, do things that you like. And the person in that relationship, whether it be a friendship or whether it be an intimate relationship, should be able to understand that you need your time. You need your solitude to spend time to reflect on who you are, maybe watch a movie, enjoy yourself, whatever you do for fun, read a book. The person needs to understand this, but you need to communicate it properly.
Okay.
So bring it down on the layman level. You can't just go around and say, well, me not really feel the vibes for this right now. And let the person feel as if you don't want to have that relationship with them. You would have to say, well, I wanted to watch this movie by myself, or I know you would not be interested in doing this. Is it okay if I take some time alone?
Okay.
I just need some time alone to do this. So it's how you approach it, having effective communication.
Okay. Before we move on, though, we must make sure we make that distinction, because a lot of people don't recognize that you do not complete the cycle, or the process isn't effective if you have not received feedback from the recipient. So you might say something and assume that, but we have to ensure that you have to complete the cycle. You only complete that cycle of communication if there is feedback. So Rajae, your thoughts on this?
My thought, I say thought because I think that we have to ensure that we understand this concept, right? You have what we call the IQ, intelligent quotient. We have EQ, emotional quotient. And we have what I never hear people talk about, AQ, adaptability quotient, right? So your intellect will lead you thus far to understand who you are, what you're about. Your EQ will help to keep you in and with your relationships. Yes, and the adaptability quotient after you use your emotional quotient will allow you to live somewhat at a particular level where you're comfortable in your surrounding. Because I'm sure some of the listeners would agree that the worst thing is being comfortable in your surroundings. Yes. So the struggle that I believe that we have when it comes on to maintaining our relationships is the barriers you alluded to, Ayanna, right? The barriers of communication. And people tend to not listen. I tell people sometimes, communication literally started world wars. That's why I love it so much, right? So there is that huge issue of sending information and not receiving information, and then the barriers in the middle of that, right? So here you are having a particular personality but not able to explain that personality. Yes, because in truth and in fact, and what we find too is that the clashing of personalities often happen, and so we have to take now leadership and management from that macro level and from the corporate mindset to a personal micro mindset. Yes. So here we are now trying to manage ourselves to say, okay, I operate like this under this condition. And so if this happens, this is what I'm going to do. Because it's okay for you to feel upset or to feel anyway in a situation, but it's never okay to be disrespectful.
That's right.
It's never okay to offload on anybody, right? So you will have to learn, because you have learned about who you are. So you say, okay, this gets me upset. But before I offload on these people, let me just walk through the door and just cool off first. Because you'd have learned. So there's no excuse in it, because it's not something that has come up. Right? Because you have to maintain the relationship of those who are around you. You don't have the right to offload on them, right? Because you have already learned. So what you do, you do not take that EQ, you do not take that EQ lightly. Yes? Because that EQ will affect your life tremendously. Yes? So after you have mastered that EQ, to know that when I feel, it's not about how I feel, right? It's really not about how I feel. I would want to say it's about ensuring that the relationship is healthy. And we must all strive to have healthy relationships. And mind you, folks, listeners, it doesn't mean that you will not have conflicts and disturbances to that equilibrium. But it means that as a manager, as a personal manager, you'll have to ensure that whatever you do, whatever is affecting you, you ensure that you manage it well. And that is where I think the optimum leader comes. When you're able to understand who you are with your IQ, when you're able to manage who you are with your EQ, and when you're able to stay comfortably where you are with your AQ.
I mentioned before inner directed solitude, where we need to take time for ourselves. But there's also outer directed solitude, when we would have taken that information, as Rajae said, and see how well it fits in our environment. So it's not about just understanding us. It's about understanding the people around us.
That's right.
And their personalities. So taking it down to a more personal level, I remember when I was in high school, a lot of my friends were dating, and I was a very sheltered child, so I wasn't allowed to date until about 11th grade. And I remember by then I would have found myself, because naturally in the ninth grade, that's when the revelation occurs, and we decide, well, this is who I am and this is who I'm not. But I lost myself in that first relationship because the person would not have found themselves yet. So he did not love or respect himself, so he could not love or respect me. So what he did was project it onto me, and so I was never enough for him. So it's not just about finding yourself, but about knowing the people around you, knowing their personality. How do I engage with this person? How do I tell this person that I need space? Do I just go to him and be direct? Do I go to him and go around the bushes? Who do I surround myself with? Is this an intelligent person that has the ability to hold a sensible conversation? Or is this a person that I would have to go to the street language for them to understand? So it's not just about knowing yourself and maintaining your identity, but knowing the persons around you as well.
Right, I understand like a married woman, but you see,
Powerful.
that's powerful,
That's
Ayanna. Powerful. I must agree. When we look at, what I find when it comes down to relationships, if I must dabble in that a little bit, yes, is that we often, and the struggle is that we often portray an identity that is not consistent. Yes? And so with that inconsistency, when that inconsistency comes out, the struggle of maintaining the relationship. I want to talk to the married folks a little bit right now.
Bearing in mind, this is a non-married person, but go ahead.
It's a reading. It's
a reading. Go ahead.
The struggle. You see, I recall this quote of this. It says, if we continue to be the person that we were while we were in the pursual mode, we would never have problems. Well, of course we have problems, but we'd never have problems. Because the things you do, the depth you go, the places you go to, what you seek to buy at that time to impress is often short-lived. Yes? So we don't get to maintain the relationship. And you see, it comes back to Ayanna, and you made allusion to it, in finding who you are in the initial stage.
That's right.
Because you see, I don't get Ayanna, I don't get someone, because here's what I don't get with young people whenever I get to speak. I always say, in relationships, especially nowadays, they hear people saying, my other half. I'm saying God did not make you a half, God made you a whole. Yes, these two whole coming together. It's not other half business. It's not you are short of and I need you to complete me. That's not the case. That's not the case. And I want to listen to get and understand that you're made a whole, right?
You complete each other.
You complete each other. But you know what? To complete you. No. So you must be ready already. And so when the other piece of the puzzle comes, it fits perfectly. Yes?
Yeah.
So I want my listeners to understand that quite clearly. Yes, we have to be able to be and as I said, I think I want you folks to write it down, IQ, EQ, and AQ is a powerful thing. Yes, man. Yeah. Because if and you can just paste it up somewhere, folks. Paste it up somewhere and just look at that each day, because it will really guide your day as powerful as a quote, because you understand that intellectually to find who you are, your EQ manage who you are, and your AQ keeps your personality going.
Yeah. As we're wrapping up, we've said a lot, but if there was just one idea that you wanted to leave, either one of you, what would that one? So if somebody's listening, they got nothing else, this is the one point that you want to resonate with them. Because at the end of the day, the purpose of this podcast is really to help people to have better relationships, not just with themselves, but with others. So our question that we've been talking about is how to find and maintain your identity while maintaining healthy relationships. So what's the one thing, Ayanna, that you'd want our listeners to get?
When Rajae said it a while ago, I was laughing, because a lot of times I tell my friends, and you've heard this before, don't let a man complete you, let him compliment you. Never ever let somebody complete you. Be that independent person. Don't build your world around someone else. So when they leave, it all falls apart. Don't do that. And oftentimes when relationships fail and we go into that period where we say, oh, I'm single, and then we think we're single for other reasons. We think we're single because we're not attractive enough, or we weren't enough for the other person. No. We're single in that period because we're given that time to renew who we are.
That's right.
To go back
That's
to that
right.
inner directed solitude and find who we are. Not what the other person wants, but what we need ourselves to be. So don't let anyone complete you. Let them complement you.
Rajae.
After that powerful, I don't even know what to say. But what I'd like to leave with our listeners is just this. You might think it difficult to find who you are, to maintain who you are, and to adapt with who you've become. But I leave this with you. Intellect can perhaps describe it, but only instinct can find it. And that is what every human being has built in them. It's innate. Instinct will allow you to find it.
Thank you so much, Ayanna and Rajae.
It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure.
Know how to find and maintain your identity while maintaining a healthy relationships. Healthy relationships, when you develop that strong sense of self, that is only then you can have a healthy relationship. This was Doreen Daly on Making It Last podcast. Until next time, where it's all about helping you to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, but with others.
Loving me, I loving you. Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers,